Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the WRAP, Michigan Medicine's employee podcast. I'm Dan Ellman with the Department of Communication.
And I'm Jeremy Fallis, also with the Department of Communication. Today, we're going to mark Workplace Violence Prevention Awareness Month by discussing efforts taking place to keep everybody safe at Michigan Medicine.
Now, to do just that, we're going to be joined by Maria Bobo and Sean Taylor. For the two of you, introduce yourselves, explain your roles in the organization, and to start us off on a light note, let us know about the best spring break trip you've ever had.
Hello, thank you for having us today. My name is Maria Bobo, and I'm the Senior Director for Nursing Professional Development and Education, Nursing Research, and over our Magnet Recognition Program. I'm responsible for education and training for close to 8,000 nurses across our health system, ensuring they have adequate training and resources to grow in their profession and offer professional development opportunities. I'm thinking about this question you asked about my best spring break trip, and I'm actually going to go way back in the archive. When I was 18, it was my first international trip, and we did a trip to Mexico, and it was with my Spanish club. So during the trip, we had to speak Spanish the whole time. We were able to go to Cozumel, Merida, and Cancun. And I would tell you, as a young high schooler, I had the best time in Mexico. And even now to this day, I try to visit Mexico 2 to 3 times a year.
I'm Sean Taylor. I'm a police sergeant with the University of Michigan Police Department assigned here to Michigan Medicine. I'm responsible for the police officers assigned here, the K-9 team, our community engagement and workplace violence prevention training team, kind of a jack of all trades for all things law enforcement and public safety. And this question's great because it's kind of the opposite answer of Maria. Just recently got back from a trip with my wife and 3 kids from Florida. We spent some time just hanging out in the pool, going to water parks, having some fun. And it just is the first time all 5 of us will be able to go on a spring break trip together. And kids had a great time. We had a great time.
Well, congratulations on the warm weather for both of you. And Maria, that sounds like a spectacular trip to the Yucatan Peninsula. And it's wonderful that you get to go back there 2 or 3 times a year. But let's dive into the work a little bit. If you only had 30 seconds to explain it, what's the biggest thing that staff at Michigan Medicine should know about workplace violence training offerings?
I would like people to know that over the past 6 to 8 months, we have a workplace violence steering committee that has been dedicated to refining the training programs that we offer for all our staff. But the biggest thing we want people to know is all about your response. And the earlier that you detect that you're potentially could be in a dangerous situation, the better. So reacting, identifying the risk of a patient or family member early, de-escalating the situation, and then act fast, meaning get help. You're not in this alone. We want you to know that there are many resources, there are many individuals, as well as departments that can help you in these situations. So that's just a quick synopsis. I know we will get into more in depth, but really prevention and preparedness is key to making sure you are safe as employees here.
I love that. And I know one of the keys to both prevention and awareness is real world scenario training. So, Sean, maybe you could talk a little bit about this. What's one real world scenario that the training really does help staff feel more confident in handling?
So really, the biggest one is one that might be overlooked a lot of times. It is simply that initial interaction between a medical professional or staff person with a patient. So it's that unknown where they haven't really interacted yet, haven't met. And our training really helps people identify indicators or pre-incident indicators that someone might be showing on the onset of contact, and also teaches people to pay attention early and look ahead at what they're going into. Because often you see people will walk into a room without looking first, and they pop into a room and all of a sudden there's multiple people, no chairs, things like that. Teaching people to, as soon as they're able to see a room, start glancing around, seeing what's there, and then entering the situation, having some sort of knowledge and information to go off of. And then further from that is just being aware of proxemics once they're in a room, the distance between the person, the distance between that person, other objects in the room, where they're located within the room, and ingress, egress points as well. So that point when someone is meeting someone for the first time in any situation within the medical system, I think is the most important real world scenario that we can teach and make a difference on.
I think that's a great transition to this next question. Situational awareness is key to kind of de-escalating or at least identifying a potential situation. So, what are some of the common warning signs that every staff member should be able to spot right away?
So we do teach a lot of pre-incident indicators. Some things someone might show changes in their breathing. They might start bracing, have some nostril flare. Someone might start pacing, clenching their face, clenching their jawline and fists. And then specific to a clinical setting, you might see someone pacing back and forth in a unit or entering and exiting a room consistently. A patient might be wringing their hands. They could be kind of darting back and forth, staring at different people, trying to get their attention. These are just some common physical warning signs you might see from someone who might be exhibiting some sort of pre-incident indicator to violence.
Excellent. That's great to know and to keep in mind anytime you're interacting. Now, for someone who's super busy, which basically is everyone here at Michigan Medicine, let's be honest, what would you say is the most valuable takeaway from the training?
So, like I mentioned earlier, it is noticing the signs that Sean just mentioned, noticing them early on. And I will add, trust your gut instinct. If something doesn't feel right or seem right, if a patient is or family member is behaving differently, or even an employee or visitor, trust your gut. We want you to react earlier than later. So notice what's happening, be aware of your environment, be aware of behaviors. So notice early signs. Also respond early. Like I said earlier, get help, reach out, ask for help. Tell somebody, even if you mentioned something doesn't seem right or feel right, maybe ask for someone to come into a room with you. Have a buddy system or say, I'm going to go check on our patient down the hall. Can you keep an eye out or listen out? I'm not feeling safe right now. So letting other people know what's happening, what you're feeling, and also being aware of yourself. Coming into a situation, you may feel anxious, you may be nervous, but your body language, how you approach someone will make a big difference. Using a calm voice, saying words that I'm here to help, saying words that it appears you seem upset, will maybe that individual could potentially reflect on maybe their behavior and maybe decide they can be more expressive with you. So I think, again, we have a lot of training here, and we're going to talk a little bit about the offerings that we have. But I think those simple things, again, the earlier the better. Ask for help, know yourself, know how you're coming into an environment. And so make sure you are aware of the signs that someone may be escalating, and make sure you actually establish some boundaries around yourself. And I can't emphasize this enough. Call for help if you think there is a risk or a unfavorable environment.
And I think it's important, right, that you can never be too cautious, right? If there's any sort of moment, and maybe Sean, you could talk a little bit about that. If there's anything that's making you feel uncomfortable, right, DPSS can get involved, or just, help, out in the hallway with anybody, right? Like your DPSS is never going to get angry at you for calling for help if you feel like something is wrong, right?
Absolutely. It's something I talk about all the time with people. It's a stressful situation to call. Be the person to call for help is hard to do, let alone be that person experiencing the incident. Call and help us decide whether you need us or not. You don't have to make that decision on your own. It's a hard thing to do. So call us. We'll come and talk through with it, and we can help you decide whether we are needed or not. And we can go from there.
So after someone is called and maybe the incident is resolved, or maybe it's not resolved yet and it's in process, what type of support is available to staff after an incident? How does the training help them know where to turn?
Yes. So the great thing about Michigan Medicine, we have so many resources for you. So not only DPSS, but many of our units have peer supports. And so these are individuals that are trained to help with stressful situations, not only workplace violence, but also if even you may be going through some crisis. So we do have peer supports available across the hospital, and many of you may have them in your area. We do also have a wonderful department, the Office of Workplace Counseling and Resilience. and they're available to everyone to reach out. Again, with anything you're dealing with personal at work or anything you may be personally dealing with, this is a department that can help with uh, debriefing. They can bring in resources to help your team with situational type of work. But the departments here and the individuals here want you to be safe and have resources. We do also, I just want to mention, we do have policy and procedures that can be helpful because it does talk about how we should be reporting any of these instances, because it's important that we know what's happening. You have to be the eyes and ears for us. We cannot be, me and Sean are not on the units all the time to know what's happening, and we can't assist unless we know. So if you see something, if something happens, definitely report it. If something didn't happen but could potentially happen, we still want you to let us know so we can have policy procedures, improve the way we handle things here, and maybe get the resources and training that you or your department might need, additional trainings. Again, our job is to make sure everyone feels safe here, and we, again, can have an environment that is conducive for healing for our patients and families.
In addition to that, Maria touched on the DPSS resources for post-incident. So we have our Special Victims Unit, our SVU team, and then also our BTAM team, the Behavioral Threat Assessment Management. If these workplace incidents are something of like domestic violence nature or interpersonal violence or something that may reach the point of a criminal matter, these teams can help provide support and help direct to things like OCWR and other mental health resources, but can also help with safety planning, not just at the workplace, but also at the employees' homes as well, if things are too stretched to that point.
Excellent. That's great to know. Now, I know that there's a difference in training for nurses and other staff members here at Michigan Medicine. What is the importance of tailoring the training to various roles, and how do the trainings sort of intersect?
Yes. So what I would say is that we want to make sure the right training is given to the right individuals, right? So we don't believe there's a one-stop shop for training. People work in different environments. They engage with our patients and families in different ways. So what nursing has been doing, and for many years, nursing has been using an outside vendor called Well to provide training for us. But I will say, really, there's no different in the interior training that we offer and the exterior training. What I think is different is that we want to make sure we get you the right training and tailor it for your needs. So DPSS has had training also for our employees for a very long time. And they have the ability to really tailor it to someone's department. So reaching out to them and saying, maybe there's a specific, again, situation or the way your environment is set up, your training may look different than in a clinical setting. So working with DPSS and having, again, training set up for your team is important. But again, nursing, we do have a little more standardized training because of our continuous bedside interaction with patients. Some of our areas are very stressful, high acuity areas. But I will say training is available for all staff, no matter where you work, no matter what your role. And we want to make sure that we give you the most role relevant, realistic training that is going to, again, prepare you for any of these situations. Before I forget, I want to mention that we all have to do a module, a mandatory module. And coming hopefully this summer or later this fall, we are revising that module. So again, there will be common language, there will be common concepts that all employees will have to learn about, and they will get that in that annual mandatory module. So yes, we're so excited that we have the opportunity, Sean and I, to lead the Workplace Violence Prevention Training and Education Subcommittee so we can align trainings for all employees.
Well, that's a wonderful breakdown. And thank you, Maria and Sean, for giving us the great insight that you have today. But before the two of you go, we do have one more fun question for each of you to answer. April is National Volunteer Month. So, Maria, I'll start with you. What is something that you have volunteered for in the past that you are especially proud of that you'd like to share with us today?
Wow. So I'm really passionate about mentoring others. And I volunteer a lot of times to be on panels, to encourage other healthcare providers to reach their goals in whatever ways they can. But I really like to give back. I like to give back to um, especially individuals who may be doubting their career choice. And I've been a nurse for 30 years, so happy about that. And so I volunteer my time to mentor either on a larger scale at conferences or panel discussions or individually. So that's what I love to do, and that's my passion.
Well, I'm going to take this opportunity to reach way back this time. Um, Back when I was in high school, I'm very passionate about kids being active and then just being there for kids in general. I volunteered with a children's learn to play hockey program for a couple summers way back middle school, high school time. And it was taking kids from ages 3, 4, 5, and 6, just getting them on the ice, getting them active and kind of teaching them the basics and ins and outs of skating and hockey, just to show them how fun it can be and just get them some enjoyment and activity. That's one that really stands out for me.
That's awesome. I love that. That's great. Thank you for sharing that, Sean and Maria. Jeremy, I need to know about you. What's a volunteer opportunity that stood out for you?
There are probably two. One, if we're diving back into high school, the school that I went to, you had to do a certain number of hours in order to progress to the next grade. And my senior year, you spent every single Wednesday at a certain place. And the one that I was assigned to was an elderly home, and we got to, hang out with folks who had amazing stories. We're talking about, 2001, so plenty of folks who were from the greatest generation, talking about things that happened in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and whatnot. Play puzzles, learn history, talk about anything that you could possibly imagine. Some wonderful stories and really great people. And then the other is that I volunteered for about 15 years at a golf tournament. I ran part of the scoring committee and got to teach kids how to, proper etiquette on the golf course, meet PGA Tour pros, and do all sorts of really cool things for that tournament that also supported some really great charities. So those are two highlights in my volunteering past. How about you, Dan?
Yeah, so I'll go further back and then more modern times. Growing up, I was actually a Goodwill ambassador for the March of Dimes. So the Birth Defects Foundation. And so I did a ton of work with them and got some really cool opportunities, but really sort of helped spread the word. And I know they were, at the time, it was big about spreading the word about folic acid and the importance of that for when someone is pregnant and utilizing folic acid to help prevent birth defects. So that was kind of cool growing up. And then in more modern times, keeping with the sports theme, of course, is helping coach the youth wheelchair basketball team here at Michigan Medicine, the Wolverines. So that has been now since 2017. It's been 9 years. And that has just been a blast traveling around the region and really around the country with these kids and helping coach wheelchair basketball. So those are at the top of my list.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing your Wolverine stories. So it's wonderful to hear that that's still ongoing. And, thank you, Dan, for sharing that. And then thank you also to Maria and Sean for sharing all the information about workplace violence training here at Michigan Medicine. If you want to learn more about this important topic, go to mmheadlines.org. That's mmheadlines.org.
And if you liked what you heard today, be sure to catch every episode of the Wrap Employee Podcast. You can find the shows on your favorite podcast hosting platform and on the Michigan Medicine YouTube channel.
That's all we have today. Thanks again to Maria and Sean, and thank you to all our listeners and viewers for everything you do for patients, families, and each other. We'll see you next time.